Welcome to today's Four-Piece Podcast. Today we have a guest on the program. His name is Andy Campbell. Four P's, what do they stand for? They stand for purpose, planning, passion, and persistence. Andy Campbell, he's from Charleston, South Carolina. Beautiful city, a place that I would love to at least hang out for a very long period of time. But Andy he's had some serious obstacles in his life. He had a severe issue when it comes to his family. He also had a very scary issue when it comes to his own health. However, if you listen to Andy, and this interview was kind of surreal because I'm listening to a very strong man. I'm listening to a man who overcame so many things, still moving forward. And then after he overcame his issues, he then went out to make sure he helps others. And he is helping others with his message throughout the world. He's helping others in so many different ways. When we come back, we will have Andy Campbell. Again, like I said, this is the quintessential story of persistence. We'll be right back right after this.
Your story matters. Your voice deserves to be heard. At DNP, we bring your dream, purpose, and passion to life in print. Whether your manuscript is ready to go or just an idea waiting to unfold, we're here to guide you. With expert editing, stunning graphics, and the knowledge to make your book a reality, we'll help you share it with the world. From book festivals to signings, this is your moment. Let's turn your dream, purpose, and passion into print. Connect with us today and make your dream a reality.
Welcome back to the Four-Piece Podcast. Like I said in the beginning of this podcast episode, we all have to go through stuff, and some people have to go through different stuff than other people. I remember years ago someone saying that God does not give you more than what you can handle, and to be honest with you, I don't think that that's the case. I really don't. I think that just like in exercise and stuff like that, you are given more and more and more in order to make yourself stronger. Today, I have a very strong individual that wants to share his story. He does not live too far from me in beautiful, beautiful, beautiful Charleston, South Carolina. It is probably one of the prettiest places I've ever been. It is Andy Campbell. Welcome to the show, Andy. How are you doing?
Hi, Trunnis. Thank you for having me. I'm doing well. It's great to be here.
I'm glad you're here. I want to start out this story, this thing. There's a lot of people, and you are in my age demographic. I'm 54. There are a lot of people who, at this time in their life, they start getting diagnoses of things that are very, they could end up being terminal. I just had a friend of mine who just passed away from cancer not too long ago, and he was 2 years older than I was, and he was a friend of mine since I was 4. You received, and I want to start this story out right here. There's a lot of other things I want to talk about, but you received a diagnosis 7 years ago. Share this with the audience.
Yeah, so 7 years ago, I was diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer, which I think the prognosis then was, you might get 6 months. But my general physician, who really quarterbacked my whole kind of process and recovery, just a tremendous individual, he told me, your mother died from breast cancer. All of her sisters died from breast cancer. I think you have a genetic mutation that lends to a better outcome based on the standard of care treatment that was available at that time. And he said, so don't quit your job and don't take that last vacation. Let's give it some time. The first thing we need to do is get you to 6 months. Then we'll get you to a year. Then we'll get you to 3 years. Then we'll get you, to 10 years. And I was pretty much convinced before I received the diagnosis. I don't know why, but my mother had died at 53, and her sisters, all but one, had died in their 50s. It was in my mind, Trunnis, that I was going to die before I was finished with my 53rd year. I don't know. Maybe it was self-fulfilling. I don't know, but I had just had it in my mind. And I had just turned 53. My birthday is in July. And I just turned 53. And I had this pain in my stomach, just an abdominal pain. And it didn't go away. And so my wife's like, you really need to go see the doctor. And in my mind, I didn't want to go because I was pretty sure it was going to be bad, but I didn't want to go. So I finally went. He gave me some medicine in the office, and he's like, I think you have a gallbladder problem. I just think it's either gallstones or we'll take your gallbladder out, but you need to go get an ultrasound. And I could tell by the tech's face when she did the ultrasound that something wasn't right. That afternoon, they called me and they said, we found lesions on your liver. So we were going to have to send you for an MRI. And I sent a message to my doctor and I said, look, liver cancer's bad, but at least it's not pancreatic cancer, because that's really bad.
Right.
And the next day they got the result from the MRI and they said, well, it's pancreatic cancer and it's stage 4 spread to the liver. So that started a process of, working to find ways. Now, this whole thing with the pancreatic cancer, and I know it doesn't work for everyone, but I think everyone has to find their, what does work for them. I think my physician and I as well, it's actually the fourth of my core beliefs, which is have an insatiable curiosity. And another one is, never think, always know. Thinking versus knowing. And so my oncologist thought that this was terminal, and based on his knowledge, maybe I get 6 months, they try the chemotherapy, but it would probably not work out. But my general physician my family physician was convinced that I would have a positive outcome. And then he started asking me things like, well, would you consider acupuncture? Because there's a lot of data that shows that acupuncture helps with energy levels and can help clear toxins from your body. A lot of studies when you're going through chemotherapy. And I didn't want to die, so I was like, sign me up.
Right.
Then a week or so later, he came back to me and he said, hey, there's a lot of work out there. You started the acupuncture. Would you be open to guided imagery? And I said, what is it? And he explained what guided imagery was and that it had helped a lot of people going through chemotherapy. And his position was you had to do the things to stay in the game long enough for something good to happen.
What do you say, guided imagery?
Guided imagery.
Yeah.
It's like a version of hypnosis. But mine was really about getting into an extremely relaxed state. And as an example, the chemotherapy I was on took 3 days to get into the body. So one day I would go in for chemotherapy. It would take about 6 or 7 hours. They would get 2 of the 3 chemotherapy drugs into me with all the other stuff they put around it, right? Steroids and antihistamines and glucose and all this stuff that's supposed to make it work. Without immediately killing you, like you don't have an allergic reaction or something. And then they would hook a pump up to my port. I had a port in my chest, and they would hook a pump up, and I would carry the pump home for 2 days. And that chemotherapy was toxic enough that they couldn't put it in all at one time. It had to go in a very small dose every 3 minutes. Okay. And so that would last for like 42 hours, almost 2 full days. And I remember when they sent me home the first time, they sent me home with a hazmat bag. And I said, well, what's this for? And they said, well, if the tube were to come out, which it won't, or if your port were to leak, which it won't, you got to take this pump and you got to put it in the hazmat bag and call the fire department immediately. And I said, let me make sure I understand what you're saying. If it spills out of me, it's a hazmat situation. If it stays in me, that's okay. And they were like, yeah. And I said, guys, this doesn't sound good, right? Like, this is tough stuff. And what attracted me to going through the guided imagery and the acupuncture, but in the guided imagery in particular, was the person would have me imagine or visualize things where my body was clearing out toxins. Okay. So, like as an example, he would have me imagine I walked through a beautiful meadow, and I would there was a stream, and it was the perfect temperature to sit in, and he would have me visualize that I was laying in the stream, and then the stream and my body would expand in every direction until I was at the cellular level, and the water would wash through my body and clean away all the toxins. And I was able to sustain 16 of those treatments that most people don't get past 5 or 6 at the dose I was running. I did like 6 at 100%, and I did another 10 at 80% of the recommended dose. And I think it was all because I did things like guided imagery and acupuncture. Okay. And I had the oncologist one time tell me, I said, you really ought to recommend these things to your patients. And he said, Andy, all that stuff could just be in your head. And I said, well, isn't that the point? Like, the outcome matters more than the process, right? So even if it's nothing but my belief, and my belief in it is keeping me going, keeping me in the treatments, isn't that the point of it? That's what matters more than whether it's real or not. It's, do I believe it's helping me? And I do. I absolutely believe that those two. And then, I probably still take, and I did during the treatment, I probably take 40 different on-label medications, off-label medications, and supplements every day. Okay. Yeah, every day. And the idea behind all that, Trunnis, was just, and so my mindset was, I have to do standard of care. That's what will kill the cancer. I can't control all of that. Right. But what can I do to weaken the cancer cells so that the chemotherapy and later immunotherapy and other drugs that I take would work better? Like, what can I contribute to it? Right. And what I could contribute was staying in the game. It was doing the acupuncture, doing the guided imagery, taking the supplements, doing those things that might make me stronger and might make the cancer weaker. And so I investigated everything I could and took everything I could, and thank God for me it worked. So during this time, as you're trying to heal yourself, you had a extreme tragedy happen to you. Mm-hmm. So you're trying to heal yourself. You're really trying to be there for your family and all these other things. And then a tragedy, a massive tragedy. And a lot of people describe it as an unimaginable tragedy happened to you with your son. Can you share that, please? Yeah, I think unimaginable is an accurate way to describe it. So my son, Heston, took his own life at 18. I found him. I thought when I got diagnosed with cancer, I thought that things can't get worse than this. Mm-hmm. But Trunnis, I learned never say things can't get worse. No, because they can't. And so what I now say is, I hope things don't get worse because I don't want something worse than finding my son. To go back in the story a little bit, he was 9 years old when he first told my wife that he saw no purpose in life, that people were going to die anyway. This is what we learned later, because we didn't understand how at 9 he came to the decision that he was going to kill himself. He was just going to opt out of being alive. And so we spent the next... It wasn't depression. It was just like a there's no use. I think he was born with some kind of propensity for, or a propensity for some sort of mental disorder. He was never diagnosed. What he was diagnosed with was, after that, obviously, we took him to psychiatrist and we took him to therapist and anything that we could do to see if, he could have a change of heart. We didn't really know what to do with a 9-year-old. He didn't have access to the internet at that time. He didn't know anyone who had taken their own life. And later on, he told us he was highly intelligent.
Okay.
Very intelligent. And so to him, he used to tell me, I don't understand how you think it's illogical. It's the most logical thing. You're going to die. Why go through all the pain of living? If you're going to die, just die. It was kind of a matter of fact. He was very black and white. There was no gray area for him. It was like, this is right, that's wrong. And we held on to him for 9 years, but he, was 18. And at some point, people have to make their own decisions. And we thought we were actually past a lot of, we thought he was doing really well. But he had a couple of down days. We don't really know what caused those down days. And we had what was no more than what you would think of as a reasonably minor argument with a teenager, because he had been in this, bad mood, but we didn't associate it because he had been doing so well,
Right.
And then the next morning, I found him dead in his room. And so it was, I guess, kind of impulsive, but he had just reached a point where he decided to leave.
My situation was definitely different. But one thing that we probably share is, the sickness that you go through, the physical sickness, not only the mental anguish, but the physical sickness that you go through after something like that happens to you. You were sick anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now I have I had an uncle who lost his daughter to cancer. I kid you not. I remember giving him a phone call because I know that the physical element that I went through, I mean, like the just stuff, you know what I mean? I couldn't describe it. I couldn't diagnose it. But I called him because he was in his 80s. And I said, hey, make sure you do everything you can to take care of yourself. It wasn't 6 months. It was not 6 months that he had gone ahead and passed away himself. You not only did you have to bury your son, you also you discovered him.
Yeah.
And I mean, I identified my daughter's body, but I didn't discover. I knew what I was walking into when that happened. So that is a different feeling. Sad nonetheless, but it is different. How did you're 3 years into cancer treatment, physically and emotionally, how are you able to move forward?
I'll tell you, man, in a lot of ways, it's not different than what you went through. For us, I actually thought I thought that it would cause the cancer to come back. That's what I thought, right? I thought by that time I'd actually made progress. They could still see the cancer, but it wasn't growing, and it had been shrinking significantly. There was a part of me that was like, this is the kind of stuff that'll take me down, right? Like this will cause it to, in some way, shape, or form, something will change. But I just kept doing the protocol. I kept doing what I could do. By then, I was already I was in a cancer trial at the University of Pennsylvania, specifically for people with pancreatic cancer who have the same genetic mutation. I have a BRCA, what they call a BRCA mutation. And I mean, it was so hard just to get up, and because I had to fly up to Pennsylvania. It was before COVID, or it was after COVID, and they had decided that it was time to travel again. So I was supposed to go. They had done everything remote for a while, and then it was like, no, you got to start coming back. I don't really know how I got through it. Honestly, some of it is such a blur, because the devastation to his siblings, his mother, I swear, and she admitted to me that we almost lost her to suicide after he died because they were very close. He had promised that he would never do that without sitting down talking to her so that she had a chance to reason with him, and he didn't. And so there was not only was there the loss of the son, but there was the hurt of a mother who felt like she, trust had been broken and all that kind of stuff. And one day she got very close, and I called her. I was worried about her. I called her and told her that she needed to drive straight to the doctor's office. And I called the doctor, and he said, "Send her over. We'll get her in right now. I'm not losing another one." And she drove. She was willing to make the choice to go see him. And that day he started helping her, put her on some medication to help her through, the loss, the medication, the depression, and just not wanting to really be here.
Right.
But those were some really difficult days. I mean, I know that we immediately started going to a therapist. She was just a wonderful person. We just found her. I was looking for a grief counselor. And her father's the pastor at a local AME church, and she got into being a therapist and grief counseling, and still makes me emotional. She was she really dug us out.
Absolutely.
And then, but there comes a time where you have to make a change. And so then I I'd heard about this type of therapy called EMDR. And it's something, but it's basically about rapid eye movement and using sounds and like sensations in your hands, fingers. And you have to go through it, you have to do this sound and sensation thing and then relive the memory. Like you relive the memory, and what happens is, because your mind is distracted, they think your mind is distracted with the sounds and the vibrations, that when you relive the event, it forces it to go down a different neural pathway. You create a different neural pathway. And they don't really know how it happens, but what it does is it removes like so much emotion from it, where you don't have like a visceral reaction. Because I would get physically sick thinking about it. Mm-hmm. And there was parts that I couldn't think about. And so those were some really tough sessions. My wife went through them. My children went through them. But what I would say is that kind of goes back to like the first core belief is no one outruns the universe. And there's a number of ways to think about that. But in this case, what the EMDR led to was having to deal with all the other stuff that had happened.
Right.
And working through that, kind of to that phrase, no one outruns the universe. I remember the therapist telling me, because I didn't want to do that therapy. I was like, I can't relive this. That's not going to happen. Like, I can deal with it. And she said, Andy, it's always going to be there. So you have a choice. You can either do between 8 and 20 hours of this therapy. We'll see where it goes, but it'll finish. You'll come to an end of this. Or you can have it in the subconscious part and then sometimes conscious part of your mind every moment for every day of the rest of your life. So you can deal with it here and we can work you through it, or it's not going to go away.
Right.
And I sure as hell didn't want to feel like that for the rest of my life, Trunnis. I did not want to feel that way for the rest of my life. So I did the therapy, and that EMDR therapy, as difficult as it was really the thing that kind of set me back on the path, and has enabled me. Like when we talk about it, there are parts about it that I will get emotional. Like I talk about that first therapist and what she did for us.
Right.
I still get emotional about that, but I can talk about my son now because I've kind of been through that process where I don't get sick thinking about it now. I don't, immediately break down. So I would say that's how, I guess, a long way of saying that's how we work through it, and I still work through it. It doesn't go away, does it? It's not like you lose a child and it just somehow goes away over time. People say time heals all wounds. That's a lie too.
Yeah, that's a major lie. That is the biggest lie I've ever heard. Yeah, I will say that one thing I have to admit is reading your bio and knowing everything that you've gone through. you know, and to see you just, and to now you are willingly going out there helping others. And I'm going to say it, who probably haven't gone through as much as you. Okay. I mean, I'm just going to say it just like that. I'm not trying to compare one to the other. That's not what I'm trying to do, but I'm just trying to say that, you know, that you have gone through, just a lot. And you thought about your siblings. I know that, or not your siblings, but your son's siblings. And I remember, you know, with my daughter, you're bringing up some things that I used to think about, you know, after I knew that my daughter had passed away, the very first thing that came in my mind is not like, how am I going to deal with it? It's like, how am I going to address her brothers and sisters? That was something that, you know, as a parent, you know, because you still got to protect what's left, you know. And
your job didn't go away. You know,
no, and it was
things changed, but you're still in the game.
Exactly, and it really got me. And I just by talking to you right now, it is, you know, it's. I mean, I mean, it is a privilege to talk to you and hear about what you have to say. You know, before we got started, and this is in your bio. There is a group, and I'm going to tell you right now, my group skews a little younger sometimes. And there was a group back in the 70s and 80s. It was a rock group called 38 Special. Now, they haven't had a song out in a million years, not that I know of. But you live by a philosophy from one of their songs, 38 Special. And I looked at it and I'm just like, wow. And then when you told me your story, I think that the audience absolutely needs to hear this. So go ahead.
Yeah, so the song was, and I call it the 38 Special Rule, which is hold on loosely but don't let go. And I wrote that down one day as I was going through, you know, some difficulties. And I think what happens, you go through enough things, or even a thing, and it can kind of trigger in a person to manage risk. You have to control things, right? I mean, it just, you know, you go through an experience, you've been knocked down, you've been hurt badly, you're bruised, a lot of pain. And so one of the ways you work to protect yourself against that is you manage risk, and that leads one to control situations. And sometimes people, because you're trying to get them to not do things that will hurt themselves, but also not hurt you, you know, right. So you're just trying to control stuff. And one day I remembered my oldest daughter, when she was probably 7 or 8, she was out on a field trip, and they were at, when I say field trip, it was basically in the same place as the school, but they went out to this little pond. It was like a nature day. And she had reached down and captured, you know, picked up a tadpole in her palm. And she was standing back from the pond, and she didn't want the tadpole to fall on the ground and die. So she held it very tightly until when she was ready to put it back in the water, she realized that she had crushed it. She had done the exact thing that she was trying to prevent. She was working to prevent killing it, or it dying, and she had ended up killing it, trying to protect it. And that reminded me of that song, hold on loosely, but don't let go. If she had held on a little more loosely and not dropped it, she didn't need to let go, but if she had just held on a little looser, she would have, I think it might have lived. And so I thought about situations I was in and relationships, and I started looking at how I was handling those relationships. And my therapist was telling me, hey, you've, you know, over your life dealing with these things, you have started to approach and have behaviors where you're trying to control things. And so that just kind of became a thing that I kept in my head a lot. And it was very difficult to move away from those behaviors, because you still got the pain from the things that happened to you, and you want to protect yourself.
Right.
And you don't want the same thing to happen to other people, and so you try to control. But it's a reminder daily to me that you're not actually helping the situation. You might be crushing it, right? You might be strangling the situation by trying to protect it. And so it's a reminder to me to live as best I can in a way that I still hold on to relationships, but I don't try to control them to protect myself. You just have to kind of live and let live. But to hold on, hold on loosely, but don't let go.
Absolutely. This was a powerful interview. It was one that, to be honest with you, I admire the strength that you have. I admire the courage. I do know that you're still probably in the treatment stage for cancer, but
I am.
I want people who are out there suffering from cancer, whatever kind of cancer it is, that if you have a strong will, if you're willing to listen, if you're willing to do the unorthodox in some cases, there's a chance. I'm not saying that you're going to end up like Andy. I'm not saying that at all. But I am saying that you have to make sure, don't give up. Great philosophies. This will not be the last time you see Andy on my podcast. Andy, thank you so much for being on the show. Thank you for being and being so transparent. I will be sharing a lot more about Andy. You'll have ways to get in touch with Andy in the podcast notes, and we will be right back after this.
Grief is a language we all understand, but healing begins with shared stories. Stories of Friends and Family Loss brings together powerful first-hand accounts from those who've experienced unimaginable loss and found strength on the other side. Whether you've walked that path or love someone who has, this book is a tribute to love, resilience, and remembrance. Available now on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and wherever books are sold. Stories of Friends and Family Loss, because no one should grieve alone.
Welcome back to the 4Ps podcast. Andy's interview, I hope that you got a lot out of it. I hope you at least knew I want to make sure that you know that persistence is vital in order for you to succeed in life. That is the only way that you will be able to succeed in this life, is being persistent. Life is evil. I mean, it is a bad thing. I mean, the pain that you can get in life is just unimaginable. The things that can come your way, and with his cancer diagnosis, with the death of his child, with all those different things, and for him to even talk and say, hey, this is what I want to do, this is how I want to move forward, this is how I want to help, this is what this story is for, is admirable. It is something that, again, it shows strength to a level that not many people can show. He is a very strong person. They say a lot of people, when you go through bad things, God doesn't give you more than what you can handle. I do not believe that. I don't believe that. I think God gives you more than what you can handle to make you that stronger person. If you work out, if you keep on doing, if you can handle 20-pound dumbbells, and you keep on doing 20-pound dumbbells from now until the day you stop working out, whenever that will be, hopefully a long time from now, I'm going to tell you, you're not going to grow. You're not going to develop. As a matter of fact, there's going to come a point in time where you're going to plateau, and then you're going to revert. You're going to start gaining weight. You're going to start getting out of shape. Even though you work out every day, you're doing the same thing. You need to add more weight in order for you to grow, in order for you to progress. If you stay at the 20-pound weight, that's where you're going to be. That's where you're going to stop. That's where you're going to belong. That's why sometimes God will give you more than you can handle to let you grow. Just like in exercises, if you want to take that next level, it's like, okay, you started out with this weight. Now you have to go up to the next weight. And that's what it is. God does not give you more than you can handle. God is going to be there for you. God is your spotter. If we're going to keep on using the weightlifting thing, God is your spotter. He's there. He's going to grab that weight. If you can't take it anymore, he's going to help grab that weight and put it back on the rack. But that does not mean he's not going to give you more weight eventually. He really is. And that's what makes you grow. That's what makes sure you are able to share your experiences, your story, to make other people grow along with you, or grow and get out of the situation that you may have been in before. Andy was a fantastic guest. I wish him all the best. I do know that he is going out helping so many people throughout the country, and his message is resonating throughout the world. And I wish him the best. Again, like I said, very, very strong man. To change the story a little bit, to change the subject a little bit, I should say, is we were in New York City this week. If you look on the screen, you'll see a picture of a couple of authors from my Stories of franchise that were there. One of the greatest, and I'm going to tell you, it was kind of awesome seeing the books that we put together for the Stories of franchise. The 3 that are out right now that were in Times Square. And I'm looking at this billboard in Times Square. We had an event the Monday before that in Huntington, New York. And to see the outpouring of support in that beautiful, I'm telling you, Huntington, New York. That was the first time, I'm a New Yorker. It's the first time I've ever been to, a Buffalo, New Yorker. I shouldn't say a New Yorker because a lot of people get confused. But I am I lived in New York State my whole entire life, or growing up in those years. And I'm going to tell you, I've never been to Huntington, New York. It is an absolute beautiful place with very beautiful people. It is literally I would love to go to that town in around Christmas time, because I bet you it's just gorgeous. And I'm going to also tell you the next chapter, which is an independent bookstore in Huntington. If you are there, you've got to go. This place is enormous. It is a big building. As a matter of fact, like I said, we had a packed house in the back. We had quite a few people, a lot of people, for a book reading and talk about a book. I've never seen that many people at a book reading before, and it was huge. I was very, very humbled by that action. But the next chapter, you need to go to that bookstore. There are books in there. There are used books there. There are also other books that are brand new. But people donate and they're on consignment. I went through the history section because I love reading history books, and some of the books that are in that section are books that you'll never find anywhere, anyway, anyhow. And these are books that are just, they're priceless, and it's a good place to go. Please go to the next chapter. But like I said, that was a fantastic event for the Stories of. There are 3 Stories of books out right now. There is stories of children lost, stories of veterans, and also stories of friends and family lost. In September, we are going to move into another topic that is very important, that is affected, and I mean this has affected every single person walking this planet. And that is the name of the book is called Stories of Transgression and Recovering, but it deals with addiction and trauma. And it has affected everybody. It is an epidemic. I don't care where you go, what state you go, what country you go, what city you go, what your race or culture, religion is. You are somehow, some way, some shape, some form affected by addiction, and you are affected by trauma. It is everywhere. And this book is a great book. Again, like I said, like all of my other authors that I've shared, their stories are very brave. These authors are very brave as well in sharing their stories about what they had to go through in their life to overcome what they had to overcome. Next week, we are going to be talking to a man by the name of Steve Clary. You've seen the advertisements for rocket fuel on this podcast, and you are going to also see the man who invented it. What I love about this is the greatest story of entrepreneurship that we've had on this program, and I mean it. And I'm talking about, I've shared stories of my dad and this, that, and the other. This is a phenomenal story of entrepreneurship, and one of the biggest obstacles that hit in the 20th century, they had to overcome to become successful. And he's gonna share the story about how he leveraged the pandemic to get to where he is now. I'm proud to call him a friend. I do use his rocket fuel, especially now since I do CrossFit, and I'm going to tell you I need every single drop in order to do CrossFit. We will see you next week. Goodbye.